Hello from Jonathan and me, and welcome to the programme.
Now, first tonight, as Bangkok burns, there are many people in our region who are awaiting news from loved ones who are out there.
With sporadic anti-government protests continuing, travel companies are now advising people not to venture into the Thai capital. Neil Bradford has this report.
For Pan Chitra and Wei Po, it's been a day spent desperate for news of home. The students at the University of Bedfordshire can only watch on the television as thousands of miles away, Bangkok burned.
I am not sure whether I should go back or not, because the situation is not really good.
It's quite dangerous.
Yeah, it's quite dangerous.
Government troops stormed a barricaded protest camp and the red shirt leadership surrendered. The anti-government protests have paralysed the heart of Bangkok for weeks, and today the city was under curfew, the first to be imposed in 15 years. Greg Dorr works as an English teacher in South Thailand. He returned home to Chelmsford a month ago and says he could feel the tension building on his way to the airport.
When I was going through Bangkok in the taxi, I noticed a lot of army people and riot police and everything dotted around on every corner.
Tom Griffiths is the founder of gapyear.com, a travel social network that people visit for advice. Staff in Ipswich are monitoring entries made on the message boards and say there's been a real shift in feeling over the past month.
At the tail end of April, was talking about media scaremongering. People saying, yeah, we shouldn't be worried. When we get on to the more recent posts where, you know, we've seen deaths and gunfights, and so it's become a lot more serious.
They're advising members to follow Foreign Office advice and keep in touch with their travel agents.
Go over to Phuket or Koh Samui.
For this tour operator in Cambridge, Thailand is one of the most popular destinations. Since trouble flared, bookings have dropped, but it still has hundreds of holidaymakers in the country. Its advice to travellers is to stick to beach resorts and not venture to the capital city.
People that are travelling to Bangkok, we're sort of giving them the option really to extend their holiday in the beach. If they want to take in another city, we can rearrange their routing to take in Hong Kong, Singapore. But most of our clients are carrying on with their Thailand holidays. Outside of Bangkok, it is very much business as normal.
For those with family in Bangkok, it is impossible to exaggerate the anxiety they're now feeling. All Pan Chitra and Wei Po can do is watch and hope. Neil Bradford, Anglia News.
Next tonight, a judge has reduced the prison sentence that he imposed on a landlord after one of his tenants was horrifically burned.
The highly unusual legal move came after the millionaire wrote his victim a cheque for £20,000. Well, with the latest, Natalie Gray joins us from the newsroom. Natalie.
Yes, this all dates back to a fire in Norwich in April last year. A flat owned by Michael Billings was virtually destroyed, and tragically one of the young women who lived there suffered terrible burns so bad that no one expected her to survive. These are the pictures of Layla Scarley, who was 20, as she was being treated in the Broomfield Hospital in Chelmsford. She suffered 80% burns. Doctors say no one has been so badly burned in this country and survived. The flat where she was living in Magdalen Street in Norwich had no fire alarm, no smoke detector and no fire escape. It was one of the worst and most dangerous cases the Health and Safety Executive had ever seen. Well, earlier this month, Billings, who lives in a hall at Barsham near Beccles in Suffolk, appeared at Norwich Crown Court, where he was jailed for 30 months. But in a very unusual upfront deal, the judge, Paul Downs, agreed to review the sentence if Billings paid immediate compensation to Layla. Well, today he was told she'd received a cheque for £20,000, and Judge Downs has reduced Billings' sentence by 9 months. The deal means Layla has got an upfront payment immediately, though she is still likely to sue Billings for more money in a civil case.
Natalie Gray, thank you very much. Well, next, the struggle that's facing students from disadvantaged backgrounds trying to get places at our top universities.
Yes, a new report has found that wealthy youngsters are 7 times more likely to go to the country's most selective universities, such as Cambridge and Oxford.
Now, the author of the report, Sir Martin Harris, is now calling for the selection system to be completely overhauled. Emma Baker has been meeting some students still unsure of what the future holds.
And your mocks, how did you feel?
Exams are looming, and for these students at Bedford College, that means university is fast approaching. But as they prepare for the final push, the stress of study isn't their only concern.
How many of you are worried about finances when it comes to going to university? Yeah. So every single one of you.
Some of these teenagers are heading for the top grades, but many are reluctant to apply for the top universities.
When you initially think of Cambridge and Oxford, you just think, wow, that's obviously the top one, so they're going to cost the most.
I know I can achieve, but then because of the finance and the high grades, it makes it hard for me.
I find it quite a big worry for me because at times I think I can't gather enough money.
I knew that I wouldn't get into Oxford or Cambridge just because I probably wouldn't get the grades, but also because I'm not from a private school or something like that as well.
They're not alone. A new report shows that while more disadvantaged students are now making it to higher education, those from the wealthiest backgrounds are 7 times more likely to go to one of the top universities. That's compared to 6 times more likely 15 years ago.
The discrepancy is serious because if you don't go to a university that is selective, your chances of upward social mobility are diminished to that extent. So it's an important issue. It's roughly speaking, those who are in the least privileged 40% do significantly worse than those who are in the other 60% and particularly less well than the top 20%.
I think a lot of it has to go back to family, and you can't separate a student out from the family they're from at all. And lots of our families are very supportive, but they themselves haven't been to university, so they don't know the ins and outs of it. So we in the college try to fill the gap with that as much as we can. And lots of our students work outside of college in paid work. We don't encourage them to do it, but lots of them simply have to. So 10, 12, 15 hours a week.
Some say it's these pressures on many students of today that prevent them aiming for the most prestigious of institutions. The report acknowledges that top universities such as Cambridge have already made efforts to improve access for students from poorer backgrounds. But it now says these same universities need to do more to foster closer relationships with colleges and schools to help raise students' aspirations from an earlier age. All with the aim of convincing students that it really is academic ability and not background that will help them get to those top places. Emma Baker, Anglia News.
Now, the former school secretary, Ed Balls, has announced he's running for the